Dude, my dream one day would be to grow big enough of indie people and game developers to eventually host a game jam. That is my far-fetched dream that I'm saying now, on the final day of 2023, will one day happen, and I can't wait for that day. Not for a while, not for probably multiple years, but eventually. We did it. 3,600 games were brought to life in just 1 week by 14,000 people for the very first and the very serious Juniper Dev Game Jam. But this was no ordinary game jam, because on top of there being a theme, which was spin to win, there was also the expectation that these games would be highly serious. So not only did we get hundreds of games about roulette wheels, space orbits, hamster wheels, and so much more, but all of them were incredibly serious with no humor or whimsy at all whatsoever. Some games really leaned into this by showing corporate or professional spaces overtaken with complete whimsy and tomfoolery, while others took it for what it literally meant, a serious situation like navigating a relationship or your life being on the line. I saw more rainbow pinwheels during this week than I've ever seen in my life, and I played some of the most entertaining, self-aware games that I've ever seen. There were so many incredibly creative interpretations to this multi-layered game development task, and today I'm here to talk about some of my favorites in no particular order, with the exception of 3 honorable prize winners who are taking home some fun little prizes from the very serious jam sponsors. From games with the potential to become full-on indie releases, to a game made by over 100 people, these are some standout games from the very serious Juniper Dev Game Jam. We're starting off hot with a little game about a roly-poly named Spinny-Roly 64. In this game, you play as a little roly-poly who has to roll and pull their way around the world while exploring, collecting coins, parkouring, and dodging various obstacles. The controller physics for the player are fantastic, and it really feels like you're a little bug that's just fumbling and rolling their way around. Spinny-Roly 64 does a great job at just kinda letting you run wild and discover the mechanics in pretty much any order. Off-rip, you can choose to go to the right, which is where you'll find a castle you can later prance around in and explore, or you can go to the left, which is where you'll need to really learn to polish your movement, to jump around and chain your jumps together and just absolutely launch yourself. Lots of parkouring sequences that just get really fun with the physics. The whole game is pretty open in terms of the gameplay loop that you're actually accomplishing, so it's very low stress and low stakes, but still very fun. And when you consider the fact that you can even deck out your roly-poly in a hat and tie skin, there's really little left to be desired. Anyway, this game is really fun, but maybe it takes too much effort to move your mouse around. Those few centimeters are really killing me. So how about this game, called Death Spiral, where your only control is one button, and it could be any button. Death Spiral is a one-button roguelike. Your cursor spins around on this wheel, and then all you do is press a button when it hovers over a white bar, and that'll deal damage against the enemy. The colored bars represent enemy attacks, so if you miss one of those, then you fail to dodge it and you'll be dealt damage. But the farther you progress, the harder it gets. Some of the bars will teleport you somewhere else on the spiral, other ones will reverse the direction that you're going or make you invisible. Your cursor spins faster and faster, so it kind of becomes a test of reflexes, and you find yourself getting really locked in. But spinning isn't just a part of the combat, it's actually also how the shop system works. After every round, the enemy you kill gives you some money, which you can use in this shop to purchase upgrades. You can pay to do more damage, or to have more health, or something like when you dodge, it does damage. The stylization behind this game is by far one of my favorites from the entire jam. If there's a game whose aesthetics and identity I would not forget, it would be this one. But, you know, what if this game was completely different, barely on theme, not even that good, and had cutscenes that extended longer than the actual gameplay? Well, then that game would be none other than Honse 3. The reason I mention this game is not because of the stellar gameplay, where you joust 2 Honses into one another at record speeds, but because this game launched an undeniable cultural shockwave through the entire jam. Honse 3 was not just a game, it was a movement. Honse deniers and Honse supporters flooded the Discord server and quickly divided it in 2. Propaganda spread left and right. Memes, GIFs, fan art, fan fiction. Some people even took it a step farther and added Honse to their own Game Jam games as a playable character or an enemy. My moderators can seriously barely stand to see the word anymore, so I went ahead and added it as an emoji. But one game united the community of this jam a step farther than even Honse, and it was the Juniper Jam metagame. See, every game that you played and rated from the jam that had signed up to be a part of the metagame would get a gear that reflected the art style of that game. So you were encouraged to play other other people's games in order to build up your collection of gears that would then spin against each other. I don't even know how you'd begin to make a game like this, and I've truly never seen anything like this for a game jam. Shout out to Isha for making this, and for Pangbot in the Discord for getting every single gear from the metagame. Now, the metagame had about 100 games in it, which is about the size of the largest team that participated in the jam. There was a team made up of 100 people, but the twist is that none of these people could communicate at all. As soon as the theme got announced, the GitHub repository went up, and everyone was just pushing and pulling and forking the heck out of this repository. I would guess that 40% of this game was actual developing, and then 60% was merge conflicts. But the result of it all was a surprisingly coherent game called Spinblade. You play as a raccoon in this RPG-looking game, and you find a Spinblade, who proceeds to join your party. You walk around a little bit in these fields, and you run into different characters who are each made by different developers, telling you what they added to the game. Eventually, you talk to this blue bird, and now the game is a bullet hell, where you're trying to defeat this massive Spinblade. You'll find that this is a recurring theme where you're kind of just thrown into a game within the game. But once you beat the bullet hell, you unlock the ability for your raccoon to dash. So you break through the state of Minnesota using this dash, which involves you turning into Sonic, and logically the game continues. My favorite part is just walking around and exploring and seeing all the different art styles of the people who added stuff to the game. It really does feel like you're walking through a museum of different people's workflows and ideas and creativity. Spinblade and the metagame and Honse just show how awesome game development communities can be if they put their mind to something. And putting your mind to something is exactly what you have to do in this trivia game called Stackpot. Stackpot is an adorable little game of trivia, which of course involves spinning the typical game show wheel, but every time you answer a question, you also have to spin objects to get them to stack right on this platform. The trivia itself is hard enough, but it's definitely harder when you have to put together a miraculous balancing act of very thoughtfully placed furniture. A lot of other games had a unique approach on the whole game show wheel idea too, like the Show of John Bucket-Teeth, which turns a seemingly innocent game of trivia into a horror experience where the questions just kind of get weirder and weirder, or Spin on Pin, where you're in a game show surrounded by your competitors and you have to spin a wheel while completing tasks to be the last man standing. But the visuals of Stackpot really set it apart from all the other game show games, in my opinion. It's one of the games that makes you really admire the fact it was just made in 7 days. That's such a small frame of time. And, you know, it's about time that we talked about a game that's about time, called About Time. This game takes the cake for being the most addicting, and if the visual style already looks familiar to you, then you probably know why. This is essentially clock Balatro, because your goal is to forward time by spinning a clock. The hands that the clock lands on determines your score. It's the hour hand times the minute hand, and then you need a certain amount of points to pass the round. But of course, in true roguelike fashion, there are upgrades. So maybe you add a cog upgrade that'll add minutes to your score if the minute hand lands on an even number, or you put a modifier on a clock number itself that'll make it re-trigger. There are a lot of upgrades in this game. My favorite, of course, is the Junigear dev, and it just gets more and more satisfying the more upgrades that you stack onto your clock. But as good as all these games have been, we're missing something in this lineup. Because we've talked about so many spinning games, and yet we haven't talked about any roulette games, which was probably one of the most common interpretations of the prompt. Like the game Help, my steering wheel has been replaced by a roulette wheel and I might die, which is a game where your steering wheel has actually been replaced by a roulette wheel and you might die. But the standout roulette-inspired game for me is called Still at the Table. This is a interactive narrative game about a gambling addiction, where you bet on words instead of numbers. On the right side of the screen is a conversation with your girlfriend Jessica, and on the left side, you gamble for the words that you want to use when you respond to her. We can't always say the words that we want to say, and this game is a wonderful representation of that. And it's brought to life by some of the best voice acting, I think, in the entire jam. Because this game is very narrative dependent, I'll let you experience it for yourself instead of spoiling it. But needless to say, it is a wonderful, well-written experience, and frankly a testament to the power of good game writing. But writing is something that some game jam entries took literally, with the idea of spinning stories to change the meaning or the implication behind words. Like Spin Doctor, where you're tasked with spinning the news stories around your client, who's often a politician. Or Beyond the Spin, which is about finding the best headline through word-based minigames. But my favorite interpretation around spinning stories came from Spin the Narrative. In this game, you're challenged with snipping and gluing together words from articles to create a funky headline that matches a prompt that you're given. Maybe you need to make sure a headline that you're remixing becomes more bleak or more sad, and so you're scored on how well you can match that theme and the kind of words that you use. And of course, your desk is appropriately outfitted with some very serious decorations. It was actually my incredible server mods who teamed up to make this game, and their team name was Mods in a Pod. They really worked so hard throughout this entire jam to keep everything afloat and make sure it's running right. So a massive thank you to them, and a kudos for making this very serious game. But even it is not as serious as the corporate office simulator Asset Liquidation. In this game, you are the employee of a very serious corporate job, and you have to maneuver your way around an office by spinning your chair and pushing off of it. The movement itself and dodging mazes of desks is definitely a focus of the game, and you have to time it with a little QuickTime event, but you also have to get out a small talk with your coworkers to ultimately complete each stage by pushing your way to the bathrooms. And that's where you're given a little performance review on how well you completed the sprint, aka the level. The thing about this game that I love is the corporate vocabulary. We all know that I am a big fan of LinkedIn buzzwords. The button to restart a level is circling back. Adjusting key performance indicators is your settings for the game. And starting the level for the very first time is touching base. Needless to say, this game is pushing the needle on spin-oriented solutions. But one game leverages those solutions in space, with orbits, and it's called Centripetal Forces. In this game, you play as a planet who's constantly spinning through space while shooting enemies, but you're also in charge of purchasing and positioning various turrets to go on that planet. Because you're always spinning and you can only move around, positioning the different turrets and machinery effectively is very important. Surviving more and more difficult waves of enemies requires better and more thoughtfully placed tools, which sometimes depend on what's next to it that's placed, or across from it. For example, the factory is a tool that'll increase the fire rate of adjacent weapons, and the tripedal increases the damage of the 3 units that are clockwise to it. There are all kinds of unique projectiles and satellites that you can deck out your planet with, including more general upgrades that'll let you spin faster or have more health. It gets to be very chaotic, but it's always very fun, and it's probably one of my favorite games to replay. You'll never really get the same lineup of projectiles twice, so the door is already open for this to become a much bigger game. But it definitely doesn't have to be. If there's one thing to learn from this jam, it's that even the most simple of games or ideas can succeed. Which is exactly the case for this next game, called Bing Chill Inc., where really all you're doing is just playing bingo. This is a misleadingly, deceptively simple game where you're spinning a bingo cage. A number gets chosen, that number goes on your bingo card, and you get a little bit of money. But then with that money, you can buy upgrades, like making it spin faster, or having more bingo cards, and I think you're starting to see where I'm going with this. This game has the elements of any good incremental game, because the art is simple, it's easy to understand, and it becomes more fun the more efficient you start to get. The magnificent sight of all of your bingo cards stacked up on screen while you bet on the odds of individual numbers being pulled gets more and more satisfying. Plus, the more you play this game, the better you'll get at bingo in real life. And the more you play Spin the Squid, the better you'll get at spinning squids, which is the objective of this little puzzle game. You're a squid who can spin himself and his tentacles around to make his way into various pipes. You'll have to align yourself with the slots of gears and tools in order to manipulate them and move your way around. This game was made in Pico 8, which is perfect for how small and dense the game is. You'll very often find yourself needing to reset and really think through every step you're gonna take to finish a level. I often find myself getting stuck in very simple situations in any puzzle game, and this one was shockingly no different. But nonetheless, it is an adorable and very well designed puzzle experience. Another puzzle game that I really enjoyed was Spin Delivery Co. In this one, you are a food delivery driver who has to manipulate the roads in order to turn them around, spin them, and get your food to the customer. The food in question was guaranteed stone cold by the time it would get to the customer in my case, which I know for a fact because they ruthlessly bully you as you try and get to them. But the concept here is great, and it reminds me a lot of the type of game I'd play as a kid, like on the web, a flash game or a cool math game. Not like this one's about math, but you know, it's still cool, and it is in fact a game. Now, this whole game jam was very beginner friendly and casual, so it's not like there's any first place or second place. Oh my god. Dude, you scared me. What are you doing here? Oh, right, sorry, yeah, this is Boots from Boot Dev, and he's here to present the award for the best first game. Because Boot Dev is a platform where anyone can learn to code as if they're in an RPG game, it's very fitting that they're giving away the award for someone whose first game was made for this jam. The best first game from the jam goes to a game that rivals the quality and feel of Animal Well, and it's Samsara. Samsara is a black and white puzzle game about reincarnation. The game begins with a wheel that'll choose the animal you play as, be it a duck or a human or a frog, and whenever you die, the wheel will spin to determine which one you'll reincarnate as next. Every animal interacts interacts with the world a little bit differently. The duck will let you float across a large area of spikes, while the human is able to place climbable ropes that'll persist into all your future reincarnations. So what you're left with is an extremely well-designed game about how these different creatures at different points in time interact with the world. Samsara was actually really well recognized in the Discord server as a great game, and it was talked about over 800 times. The community actually banded together to create a final mural set in the world of Samsara where everyone added the protagonists from their games. You can find Honse in here, of course, as one of the first additions, and then also dozens of other characters made by all of you. This is awesome, guys, and between the metagame, the game made by 100 people from the server, the D&D chart you guys put together of the alignment of different Game Jam games, the album featuring all the Game Jam songs, which also features art having different protagonists, and this mural set inside of Samsara, it's really not a stretch to say that this is one of the coolest, most unified Game Jam communities I've ever seen. Truly everyone was rooting for one another. The crossover between game characters and the fan art of each other's work was something I was never expecting. So thank you, BootDev, for awarding a year-long BootDev membership and a Boots plushie to this very well-deserving game. They've also hidden a discount code somewhere in the last 60 seconds of this video, if you desire. The next prize winner here comes from Unreal Engine themselves, awarding the best Unreal Engine game. This is the go-to game engine for all of your 3D game development needs, especially if you need them to be high quality. This winner was actually pretty hard to choose. We had a lot of really good Unreal Engine games, including Asset Liquidation from earlier. But the winner for the best Unreal Engine game goes to a game that's really only about one thing, and it's the red valve. You're put in a room where your only task is to spin this red valve, while a Stanley Parable-style narrator lovingly comments on what you're doing.
That was wonderful. You did it. You won.
After a little bit of that, the game's all done, and you're brought back to the main menu. So you go ahead and press play again, much to the narrator's surprise.
Huh. You still came back.
And so he keeps giving you things to spin, because he assumes that, I mean, dang, this guy really likes spinning.
I'm starting to think that the valve might be the problem here.
But the more you're brought out and you keep coming back, even after he tries to tell you that the game is over and there's no more spinning, the more the narrator pains, as he doesn't understand your motives. You must be here playing for a reason, so he makes the space into a platformer for you, because maybe you're looking for a challenge, then a maze, because maybe you want to explore, and he ultimately tries to figure out why it is that you play this game, and if you even deserve to win it. This game is a surprisingly philosophical, highly entertaining journey that ultimately asks why we play games in the first place. I won't spoil any of the endings, but as soon as I finished this one, I just sat back in my chair and I was like, wow, this was fun. This was a fun game. So thank you, Unreal Engine, for providing $250 in Fab Marketplace credits to the creator of the Red Valve. Our next winner here comes from Crazy Games, who is awarding a prize to the best web game, because Crazy Games is a platform where you can upload your games to the web for over 50 million monthly players to see or even buy. The best web game, courtesy of Crazy Games, goes to Rocky Rocket, which also placed #1 in enjoyment out of all 3,500 games. Rocky Rocket is a game where you spin your way through levels as a ball, but the ball also has a little thing attached to it. You'll roll if you're on the ball side, and then stop moving if you're on the little thing side. So as you progress through the levels, you'll have to mindfully use those physics to try and get the lowest time possible. Eventually there's a jetpack, which really opens up the doors for all kinds of puzzles, and the ability to control your weight, which really lets you boost your way through some of these areas. This game is a great execution of a very simple mechanic at its core, which oftentimes makes for the best of jam games. Thank you, Crazy Games, for awarding a one-on-one specialist consultation to the developer of Rocky Rocket. And thank you guys for being the guinea pigs in my first game jam. This jam didn't just prove to me what I already knew, which is that you guys are incredibly talented, obviously, but it showed how hilarious and fun the culture around game development can be. It's not just having a finished game. It's the sticky notes that you lay out with all your ideas, the brainstorming that you do.
I subconsciously created Cartman from South Park. Yeah, this is... Oh.
This is kind of my first attempt at actually making a game fully by myself.
There's a lot of spin happening in the paper prototype.
And to kind of prove to myself that I could actually finish something and release something.
It's the people that you do all of it with, the way that you teach each other and learn from each other. It's figuring out time zones on how everybody can work together from different sides of the globe.
So I'm at an airport right now because I have a 4-hour flight. And I didn't know what I was going to do on the flights until like 5 minutes ago when I opened up YouTube.
It's the way you pick up skills you never thought you'd ever try. It's the hours spent staring at a game engine, banging your head against a wall.
Scope creep definitely got the best of me.
The most serious work is always done within that 24-hour period after submissions have ended.
I got 40 comments almost on my game.
Pretty proud of what I did, and I'm really happy I joined the jam. And it was all serious and super business and no fun involved.